Wild Oats is a 2016 film directed by Andy Tennant. It's written by Gary Kanew and Claudia Myers, and we have a cast including Shirley MacLaine as Eva Miller. And I thought this was quite good. It's a little funny. We have a solid cast. That's kind of the main reason I wanted to watch this. We also have Jessica Lange, Demi and Billy Connolly. The performances are great. The character writing is great. The narrative is okay. It's about a retired teacher, Eva, who at the start of the film has lost her husband, and she receives a life insurance check for $5 million rather than the $50,000 she was meant to receive. And of course, she sees this money, and instead of raising awareness that she got more than she should have done, she decides to go off and spend this money and have this lavish vacation and go to the Gran Canaria. And the big question is, will she get caught? Because this is not money she was entitled to. And I'm not going to say what happens, but in general, I was keen to see how she'd spend this money. And obviously, we're in a beautiful location, which gives us some really gorgeous views, very, very scenic. And it was quite fun. As I said, I was keen to see what would happen with this money and what she'd do with it. And yeah, for the most part, it was interesting. And as I said, I was keen to see what would happen and if she'd be found out with this money. I'm not going to answer that question, of course, but I will say that just in general, I thought it was a really pleasant narrative. It maybe is a little slow in places, but it's not too bad. It's definitely not so slow that I was feeling bored or anything, but I feel like it definitely a little bit neater, a little bit tidier. It's not tremendously long. It's about an hour and a half, give or take. So I don't mind the length at all. Characters are very well written. For me, I think the characters were more interesting than the narrative. And considering the narrative is not too bad, that's not a particularly bad thing. And in general, I wouldn't say it's laugh out loud funny, but we had some dialogue between the characters that was quite amusing. So in general, I'd say Wild Oats is pretty good. The narrative is interesting, both in terms of the journey and the potential destination. I loved seeing what she did with the money, but also I was keen to see what would happen ultimately. And I do think the characters are well written, the performances are very good, and the location is stunning. So all things considered, I think Wild Oats is a pretty good film. And if it sounds like something that might appeal to you, whether you're drawn to any of the cast or you're interested in the narrative as a concept, I'd say give it a go. It's pretty funny, not the funniest film, but definitely some good moments. And ultimately, I'm very happy to recommend Wild Oats.